could play it. I know she could, but she won't. But I had bought this one that I got now. We went to Salt Lake. We used to go to Salt Lake every other year or so. And this, we walked into the swap meet, and they have a big, nice, big swap meet. Right inside the gate, there was this accordion sitting there. And I said to the guy, "What do you want for that thing?" He said, I think he said $500. I said, "Yeah, thanks a lot." And I started walking away. He said, "Wait a minute." He said, "Will you give me two?" I said, "I don't got two." And so I started walking away. And he said, "No, come here." So I walked back. He says, "Can you play it?" I said, "Well, I can play at it." And so he grabbed it and stuck it on me, and I can play it a little bit. Probably not as good as I do now, and I'm lousy now. Because I played it now ever since then. I've worked on the accordion, except I quit for a long time because my ears were so bad in these hearing aids. It sounded so out of tune. I just said, no, I can't play that because I don't read music. It's strictly what I in my mind. And so I finally. I played a little bit, and I put it back down in the case, and he said, "How much have you got?" And I opened my wallet, and I had $50. I said, "I got $50. He said, "Give me it." So I got that thing for $50. And I know you can't touch one for $50. But that's where I got that one. I've been playing that one ever since. But it's a lot smaller than that one. It isn't as pretty either, but well, it's prettier on the outside, but hers plays better. Did you ever play it down there?
No, I didn't hear.
Yeah, I played it every time I go down there. I get it out. It's rusty from not being played. John digs it out, and I play it a little bit when I go down there, just to see if I can still play it. It's bigger than this one.
Do you remember when Margot got engaged?
Do
you remember when Margot got engaged?
Well, I can remember when she went to school. When she went to college, we sent her to Salt Lake to go to college. She was where she wanted to go. So we took her down to the depot. I don't know. She'd been. I think she was already registered in Salt Lake, but she met this Dick Travis. He was an airman. Well, he was a flunky or something. I don't know what he was, but he was stationed out in Nellis. And I remember the first time we took her to the bus, and he was there. And they stood there talking and mooching and playing around, and he missed a doggone bus. And I was so mad I could have killed her. We had to wait for the next bus down at the depot. But they got married after that. I don't know. My girls, as far as they're married, I wouldn't tell you about Carmen because that's got to be a family secret as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't good. None of it. She was bad. But then when she, actually, until she married John, Carmen, from the time she was 14 till she married John, she'd been through whatever other marriages she'd been through. She was distant. And I could tell you, but I don't want it in here. I don't want it in there.
Okay.
But she was kind of a problem. But Margot stayed right at home, and like I say, from 7 to 13, she drove the midget. She was a perfect angel, good in school, went to school all the way. We sent her to Salt Lake. She went to college. I don't remember how much she finished. Carmen got her education. I don't know where Carmen got her education. I just don't. I don't know because we kind of lost track of it. And anyway.
Did you meet Bob? Did you know
Bob Kassler? He was an idiot. He couldn't read nor write. But he got a hold of her, and she'd sneak out. Sneak out the house and go to his house and all that stuff. And his parents didn't want anything to do with him. Nothing about it. And he was lazy. He worked for the Northrop airplane. In fact, I don't know what he did, but I know one time he got to work and he had a flat tire right there in the parking lot right at work. He couldn't go to work. He had to fix his flat tire. I mean, he was lazy. Like I say, he never cared about Margot. Never even come to see her. Never nothing. In fact, she must have been about 4 or 5 or 6 something. And he came down to the house one time. And I asked Margot, I said, "You know who that is?" And she says, "Oh, who is it?" Didn't even know him. And he didn't pay no attention.
What about Jack Abrams?
Hmm?
What about Jack Abrams?
Well, Jack is he's not a likable guy. He really isn't. Because he's when they were in school, him and Margot, her and Margot, they played in bands together. They went to school together, and I didn't care for him at all. She was going with a guy I did like, but the first thing we knew, they were married. That's it. And she'd been married to Travis, to Dick, and Dick didn't like the way she kept house. He didn't like nothing about it, and he
Who was married to Dick?
Dick Travis was Margot's first husband. Yeah.
And
Kassler was
Carmen's first.
Carmen's, yeah.
And then Jack was Carmen's second?
No, she married a guy named Young. And let's see, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask her.
Well, because Grandpa Jack is my grandfather. He's my dad's dad.
Let's see. Wait a minute. No, I have to think. Carmen had John, and now had Andrew and Philip, right? Let's see.
Andrew and Philip are Dean's kids.
Didn't Carmen have Andrew and Philip? She had to. Who's your dad now? You're not little John.
John,
right?
yeah.
And Andrew, I don't know how.
Andrew's Dean's son.
Not Andrew.
Dean and Donnie?
Dean and Donnie. Donnie.
They're Bob's kids, right?
No, Donnie's your dad. Your grandpa.
No, Donnie's my uncle.
Jack Abrams. Then Jack Abrams. Then it's your dad.
Well, Jack Abrams is my grandpa.
It's your grandpa.
And John is my father.
And little John.
Yeah.
Is your father. I mean, I get mixed up. I have to remember. I got a whole bunch of them. I got
Sure.
7 with kids down in Salt Lake. I got them all. Great-grandkids, all great-great-grandkids, all.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of them. Well, we had those pictures in there. Supposed to be of 5 generations, 3 families of them, 5 generations. But the back row didn't show. It was dark. It didn't show. Carmen said she's got them on another camera. But my camera didn't show. But there's 2 pictures laying in there that they tried. She printed, but they don't. The whole back row, Donnie, and the whole everybody's down the back row isn't in there. Okay. Anyway, Carmen was married several times, and I know she was married to Young, and she was married to Jack, and she was married to Kassler, and now John. I know that many. And John he is just, I call him my father. He gets a kick out of that, call him my dad. I love John. He's the greatest guy in the world. But this Young, he was a chirp. But I think that's where Carmen got her education, I think. This Young was a bookkeeper.
Right.
And she was married to him. Now, I don't really know that much about that because she didn't get nothing out of Kassler. She didn't get nothing out of
Abrams.
There was another one, but I don't know if she was living with a guy. I don't know. All I know is he had a wolf for a dog.
Who?
This one guy she was living with for a while in California before she met John. And before she met Young, I think Young was oh, I hated that guy. He treated the kids like dirt. And I hated him. He had a son the same age as John, I guess.
Named John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one. And he would do anything with that kid. But John, he treated John like dirt. I didn't like him at all. And Kessler, he was absolutely useless. But she was young. She didn't realize what she was getting into. But don't say nothing about her life to her about what I've said.
Okay.
Because I'm trying not to say anything.
Okay, I'll stop. I won't say anything.
No, Carmen is a nice. Mine two girls are just so beautiful. It's pitiful. I can't believe how nice they are. And Carmen is the same way. She's a little upset at me right now.
How come?
Well, I wanted to take 5 generations, and I named them 5 people. That's what I wanted. And I didn't know there was 3 of them there. There was 3 of them all down there in our house. And so we talked about having 5 generation pictures. We've been talking about it for 6 months, every time we talked. And that's what I wanted, but she got upset about that. And I didn't know what was going on, but she says, what are you going to do? What 5 are you going to choose? You got 3 of them right there in that picture, except the back row isn't showing, so she hadn't got anything in that picture. But she couldn't explain why we couldn't do that. Well, I know now. After she got excited and kind of, now everything's okay, but she is a little upset. And they're also dark. In these pictures, you can't do it. You don't have it. But I think she's got it on her camera somewhere. She got the wrong camera. She got cameras mixed up. And one of them was on the table. She thought it was hers, and it wasn't at all.
Yeah, it was ours.
Anyway, so I don't know how that all worked out, but they were taking it with mine. Well, I was mad at that. See, I left your dad. I was looking for the 5 generations, and I thought he wouldn't be. Didn't even think about him being in the picture. I handed him my camera, and I told him what I wanted. I want 1 picture of the group, and after they get the big group together. And I wanted just a 5, but I didn't get it, and she was mad about that. So anyway, he was going to take these pictures, and I wanted 1 movie picture. So all I had to do was flip the button and start taking the movies. And so I told John and explained it all to him, and that's because I thought he would be taking them. Well, he found out he was going to be in the picture. He handed it to his drunk. It was down there, and she was. And so he goes over and talks to her, and I'm back in the back of the picture, and I can't get out. I was going up and grab the camera, because I didn't want anybody else without me at least telling them about it. So anyway, he would talk to her, and so she started taking the pictures. Well, they are a mess. All the time, you have to wait. You snap the picture, and as all right, if you ignore the camera, it don't matter. Because you have to wait, and it counts right there on the screen that you're looking at live there. It counts to 30, and you have to hold that camera for 30 seconds, because that's when it's taking a movie, and that's what you get on your screen as it's moving. So, and I had taken, I took 3 or 4 moving pictures on it. They're on the camera right now. So then he handed it to her. What she did, I could see what was happening. She was taking pictures. She was snapping pictures. I think she snapped about 15 pictures while the moving pictures were going on. And none of them are any good. They're just junk. And I was upset about that, because I only want 1. 1 moving and 1 solid, 2 pictures. And I got 20. And I've got to delete them all, because it says right on it, I can show them to you in my camera, and it goes to 1, and it's gone. And then 1 goes to 7, it's gone. 1 goes to 3, I think, it's gone. Is that every time you snap that, it would take a picture of that. But it showed up, of course, like that, so it's a mess. Anyway, I was upset because I couldn't get to the camera to take it away from her, because I could see it flash. Every time she was snapping a picture, I could see the flash, and I knew what was happening, but I couldn't do nothing about it. Yeah, well, it's over now, and I don't care. I hope Carmen's got some good ones. She's got them. She says she's got them on the disc now, so I'll have them. And she's got to work with my camera, and I hope when we come back we'll have time to delete a bunch of them and put them in my computer. I got a bunch. Isn't that now? I can sit there and watch 360 pictures, just sitting right there, and I watch television and that. While I'm playing solitaire. I just hit 703 solitaires.
Wow.
That I've no losses.
All right, Grandpa.
And we was playing down there, John, trying to teach John how to do it. But it's a trick in order not to have any losses. A trick to how to, if you lose one, you knock it off. And I know how to do that. But if I know that you play 2 regular solitaires and then go to spider, you 90% of the time you win. And that's what I've discovered. That's how come I got so many. If I lose one, I know how to knock it out of there. But you just go to that last icon over there, that last square. You click on that and shut this thing down. Takes it off. It don't count. So it'll show. So, well, anyway, I'm cheating a little bit, but mostly I haven't had to cheat that often because I know that if I win, sometimes I'll play 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 hours, never win 2 games in a row. So I can't play spider until I do. If I get 2 in a row, I can win. Anyway.
Tell me more about the war.
The war? Well, I had it really nice in the war. We were 31 days on the boat. It was how many were on that boat? I can't remember now. I can show you my picture on the boat. This picture about that big. And I can show you where I'm standing on that boat when I took that picture. But there was 3,000 or something on that boat. And we were set outside Okinawa for 2 weeks. So we were 31 days on that boat before we got off. Coming back, we came back on another boat in 16. But we were outside Okinawa. And anyway, they landed us in Seoul, in Incheon, Korea. We didn't know where we were going. Nobody did. So then they took us to Seoul by truck. And we stayed at Incheon overnight. Great big old building with no windows. Geez, I about froze to death. And those sleeping bags we had in the army, they call them mummy bags, and that's what they were for, mummies, not people. But they were cold. Oh man, they were cold. And we slept in the barracks. And the cots were about this high off on the ground. And we were upstairs, the wind blowing through. And, it was miserable. Then we moved up to Seoul, and that's where we lived in a Japanese silk. It was a factory, and we lived on a knoll, and it was about, I'd say it was a couple 100 feet high, and the barracks were up there. And, well, I can show you how they get an album of nothing but pictures from Korea. It should be welcome to look at anytime you want. And so we lived there, and then the shop was about a mile away. It honked when I worked in the shop. I had what they called a miscellaneous rebuild room about half again as big as this. And we rebuilt all kinds of parts, Jeep parts. We overhauled Jeep engines and transmissions. And we did all kinds of light work. And I had 2 Koreans working for me. And in fact, sometimes I had 3. I had to knock one down at one time. He squared off to me and I knocked him on his butt. They were little people. They had to be for me to whip them. But he had enough. And that's the only trouble I ever had over there. But Korea was nice as far as I was concerned. I wanted to come home. I didn't want to go over there. Well, you know, they've been married like Carmen, like I say, Carmen was 12 months old, but been married a couple of years. and I didn't want to go over there. They took, when we left, when we were going aboard the boat to go over there, they kept pulling guys out here and sent them home. Guys had 3 kids, they could go home. They were taking them home. That's 2 kids. We went overseas. That's how they separated us. But when we got over there, when we got settled, it was nice. I worked in this place there. You had a stove, keep us warm. We didn't have to go out in the cold or anything. And,
was it ever dangerous? Was it ever dangerous? Dangerous?
No.
No.
No. The only one, we had guns, but they were in the orderly room. We never seen them. The mailman carried a gun. He had to go to Sewell, from Sewell to Incheon every day. He went for the mail and come back. Drove a Jeep, was on 35 miles or something like that. But he did carry a gun. He never did use it. But I built, well, first off, I got over there, and I had 2 guys working for me, so all I had to do was kind of ride her on, make sure they did everything right and check it out. I built a 3-wheel, like a scooter. It was about this big, had wheels about this big, and it had a fork in front, and a motor on the back, and a seat on top of the motor. And it was made out of armor plate, and I didn't know that. So I tried to drill it, and then I found out. Anyway, it was in pieces when I got over there and I picked it up. So I put it together and welded everything. That's the thing you could do. You could weld to it, but you couldn't drill it. And I made it all up. So when we got to Polson, after we got over there, he lived up here in Logan, out of Utah, out of Salt Lake a little way. So I got pretty friendly with him. He used to ride on the back of me. And we'd go out every night after work. And we'd go out and go around Sewell and up in, again in placements up on the hills. And there were dugouts where they'd had guns during the war. But the war, maybe they had guns there, I don't know, because the Japanese had taken over Seoul and all of Korea, and they'd been there for years. And any houses that were what we call a house, the officers took them over. And the Koreans all lived in grass shacks. And it was kind of nice for us. But Korea was a whole different thing. I could say I did my job, and I was a machinist, I was a welder, I was everything. So they would move me around, do different jobs. So we built stoves. I had to weld stovepipes because they had to go up about 5, 6, 7 of those lengths of pipe up through the ceiling. And I was welding pipes and any welding they had to do, and then at the light at the end I was doing trying to do machine shop work. But it was too late to do much with that.
Now, did you enlist, or did you get drafted, or? I
went with the 2 guys dragging me. I'll be honest with you, I didn't enlist, no way. My dad, the first people that went in World War II were the reserves. And they had been in it and drawn their money. I don't know how much they made, but that's who they took. And because they had marching, they had instruction. They were in the ROTC and high school, and they'd come right out of there and they'd go right into this thing. And so they took them first. When I asked my dad if I could join, I was going to get some easy money. All I had to do was wear a uniform and march around once a week. My dad says, "Do you want to kill your brother?" He said, "What you talking about?" He says, "This is what they're for." He said, "They've a riot and they have to kill somebody, they kill them. It doesn't matter who they are." I said, "I don't think I'd like that." He said, "I know you wouldn't, so you're not joining." So I didn't join nothing.
Thank goodness.
Right then, don't volunteer for nothing in the Army, and I didn't. I know when we got overseas, when we went in basic training. No, not overseas, but we were in basic training. And we were in Fort Ord. Where was it? Can't think of the name of it anyway, right here in the States. And the first thing they did, they said, "How many of you guys can type. 2 or 3 guys raised their hand. Come with me. You know what they were doing? They were mowing lawns.
What does that have to do with?
That's how they did it. And then there was different things. There was like the cooks. They came up with some different thing. Get volunteers. I thought they got volunteers. They volunteered to be a typist, but they mowed lawns. I know what they did. They were in our barrack, and the cooks were the same way, and everything that they wanted volunteers for, and that was in basic training. But that was beside their training, that they were doing all these things. Because they volunteered for these things. Anyway, not me. I'll tell you a funny experience though in basic training. We had he was a sergeant. He was over our group, and they took us out in the field this one day and made a big circle. And he said, "Today we're going to learn karate." Okay, well, in the bottom of our barracks, there were 3 barracks, upper and lower decks. We had, I think it was 21 Japanese in our lower part of our barracks, and we were upstairs. And he said, "Today we're going to learn jujitsu or whatever." So he's a big strapping guy, you know. He said, "You, come up here." One of these Japanese guys. This guy was kind of skinny, but he was kind of tall. And he said, "Now we're going to demonstrate you." So he reached out for that kid, and that kid grabbed him and threw him clear across the ring. He said, "Cast it over with all the karate we can." That was when we first got over there. The basic training, it was kind of rough. The guys were soft. They were all guys like my age. One of them was 38 years old. And we were out of shape.
Yeah.
They started out with about a 10-mile walk in the rainstorm the night we got there. I mean, Jesus, this was terrible. Wade right through the creeks and the water. And we went through, when I got through, we had 2 or 3 Mexicans. And those guys that started at the back, if anybody slowed down for a ditch or something, those guys would pass and they'd end up in the front. They were powerful. The Mexicans, and I know they'd come right from Mexico, and they were in shape. But I hadn't been there but a couple of months, and I was right with them. I could give you a stay with any of them. So I had it real easy after I got in shape. But some of the guys, it was kind of comical. But, you know, we ended up with a 20-mile hike with a 60-pound pack and a rifle in basic training. And watch. And then one day, they had these big bags. They had faucets all around the bag for water. They'd hang them in a tree or post or whatever. Take it out on the problem. We'd go out to the rifle range or whatever. And the water was there. Well, one day we went out there and we'd walked 10 miles out there, and it was hot, and it was sweating, and the water, boy, it looked so good. And an outfit from some other company in Camp Walters was a big place, and it had 3 barracks in each unit, A, C, and D, I think it was 4 of them. This guy came over and dumped a bunch of ice in our bag, and this crew of ours, he went over and dumped the bag. We got no water that day because somebody put ice in it. It was things like this. That we went down to a machine gun. They had the machine guns all lined up. They'd call you. You'd run up to the machine gun, lay down behind it, get ready to fire it. And the guy, the cadreman, he'd grab you by the shoulder and jerk you out of the way, and he'd sit there, boy, and just pepper away. We never even got to fire a machine gun one time. We had plenty of training. And the rifles were something else. If we got at the rifle range, and there'd be nothing but a hedge about 10 miles away, it seemed like, you know, shoot at this hedge. You know, you didn't know what you was shooting at. You was shooting at this hedge, because that's where the enemy was. And then after that, these guys were walking back and forth as cadremen. Well, you better fire that rifle, because a lot of guys didn't, because then they'd have to clean them. So they sat there and cleaned rifles all night long after they got back in. We had one thing with training. You asked about my training. To take a grenade, they had You had blank shells that went with this. You put them in your gun. Then the hand grenade went on the end of the barrel and was hit a little fast, and so that when you fired it, it would shoot the grenade up. You know. Well, we were on one side of the wall. It was about this tall. We were on one side of the wall, and we were firing over the wall. Well, what you get on your rifle, you could put it, if you put it on your shoulder, it'd kick the heck out of it, but you could. But you'd put the butt down and fire it up that way and go over the wall. This one guy, he fumbled around and he dropped his hand grenade, so that loaded. Here it is on this side of the wall. Here we are lined up. Everybody over the wall. Thing went off. Everybody over. Nobody got hurt. It was strictly just good luck that we seen that grenade, boy. And
wow.
we moved. That grenade would have got us, because we had grenade training. We had to lay flat on the ground. Well, we'd raise up and throw that grenade at a target, which was about as far as you could throw a grenade. And then you had your helmet, boy, you'd flee down with your helmet out, so the shrapnel wouldn't get you. And that was tricky. I didn't care much for that. And I threw that sucker as far as I could throw it, I'll tell you that. And then we had a guy shot. We had what they called something out of a core. There was a screen wire. Was it? No. There was barbed wire, all in lanes, and we had to go under there with your rifle. So you had to go on your back. And one guy, I guess what we heard about, I never seen it, he raised up and he had machine guns in two corners shooting across with tracers right across the top. And he raised up, and that was the last he remembered. And then he shot him right through the head. And he didn't want to come up, but he went under that thing. When I come home on my furlough, after being basic training, my back was raw. There was no skin on it. The doctor me, but basic training was rough, but it was good.
Did you write letters to June? Did you write letters to June?
Every day, and every day I had me and Miss Polson that I was so friendly with. We over there they had what they call it. They weren't swap meets really, but they were. Everybody bring a pile of stuff, whatever, and put it in a little circle. And a whole field full of these things, the crayons. And we bought a whole dark room. It had larger, with the pans, with the chemicals, the paper. We bought everything in this, we call them swap meets. And so we had us a dark room. I didn't take any pictures. I didn't even have a camera. But everybody was bringing their pictures to us to develop and print. And from companies around us besides our own company. And everything we wanted we took. We printed from for us. So we had every letter I sent was full of pictures. And they're in there in the album. And all kinds of stuff. But I don't know if it's real interesting, but sometime you get to go through it.